If you've lived in the same home for 30, 40 or even 50 years, being told to just declutter before you downsize can feel almost ridiculous, because you're not sorting through clutter, you're sorting through your children's school years, Christmases, family holidays, things your parents gave you, things your children left behind, and thousands of ordinary possessions that have quietly become part of your life. And suddenly you're expected to decide what comes with us, what goes to the family, what do we sell, and what can we actually let go of. So, in this video, I want to show you a much less overwhelming way to start sorting a lifetime of belongings when you're downsizing for retirement. And importantly, where I think you should not start. I've seen this situation many times with people preparing to downsize on the Mornington Peninsula. They know they need to start. So one Saturday morning they open a cupboard. Within 10 minutes they've found old photographs, their children's school reports, a wedding present from somebody who has since passed away, and a box they haven't opened for 20 years. 2 hours later, almost nothing has left the house, but they're exhausted, and they conclude, I just can't do this. The problem isn't that they can't do it, the problem is where they started. If you have decades of belongings to sort, do not start with the most sentimental items you own. Don't begin with the photographs. Don't start opening boxes of your children's things. And I certainly wouldn't make your first project the cupboard containing everything you inherited from your parents. These are the hardest decisions in the house. Start where the decisions are easy. The linen cupboard, expired products in the bathroom, duplicate kitchen equipment, old paperwork you were confident you no longer need, and clothes you haven't worn for years. That garage shelf containing 6 half-empty tins of paint for colours that aren't even used in the house anymore. You are not trying to simply empty the house in the first few weeks. You are practicing making decisions, and that distinction is very important. Because every easy decision makes the next one slightly easier. Now, people often look at an entire 5-bedroom family home and think, how are we ever going to get through all of this? Don't look at the whole house. Pick one small area, one shelf, one drawer, one cupboard. Perhaps give yourself 30 or 45 minutes and then stop. If you did 3 60-minute sessions each week for 6 weeks, that would give you over 18 hours of sorting without ever spending an entire weekend decluttering. That is very different from waiting until the house is sold and suddenly trying to make thousands of decisions under pressure. And this is why when people ask me when they should start preparing to downsize, my answer is usually much earlier than you think. You don't need to know exactly where you are moving. You don't even need to have decided exactly when you are selling. You are simply giving yourself time. There is another question that makes this much easier. Instead of continually asking, what should we get rid of? Just ask, what do we want to take into our next life? That changes the decision completely. Imagine you're moving from a large home in Mornington or Mount Martha into a smaller single-level home somewhere on the Mornington Peninsula. You may still want the dining table because Sunday lunch with the family matters so much to you. You may want your favourite armchair, your good crockery, nice artwork, your gardening tools because you still want a small courtyard garden. Now, these possessions have a place in the life you are planning. But perhaps 3 spare beds, 4 dinner sets, 27 towels, and everything stored in the roof don't. You're not trying to work out what your old life was worth. You are choosing what deserves space in your new life. And if you're at this early stage of thinking about downsizing, we put together a 49-page Downsizer's Home Selling Guide specifically to help make the whole process less overwhelming. It covers preparing, planning, decluttering, getting the home ready for sale, and some of the practical decisions you'll need to make along the way. I'll put a link below if you'd like a copy. Now, there is another group of belongings that can stop the entire process, and that is everything you've ever been keeping for the children. This actually comes up constantly. The good dinner set, the crystal glasses, old furniture, books, record collections, childhood toys, boxes belonging to children who moved out 25 years ago. And people tell me, I can't get rid of that. One of the children might want it. And maybe they do. But rather than storing it indefinitely, ask them and give them a time frame. Not, would you like to go through some things sometime? Try this. We're beginning to sort the house. There are some things here we thought you might like. Come and choose what you want before the end of the month. And then there needs to be an understanding. If nobody wants Grandma's dinner set, that doesn't mean nobody valued Grandma. If your children don't want their old school books, it doesn't mean their childhood wasn't important. And if nobody has room for a particular piece of furniture, keeping it in the garage for another 10 years doesn't make the memory attached to it more important. That can be difficult to accept, but it can also be a huge relief. There will still be things you simply cannot throw away, and I don't think you should force yourself to either. But sometimes you can preserve what matters without keeping the entire object. Photograph it. Write down its story. Give one item from a collection to each grandchild. Keep one favourite piece rather than all 12. Create one box for especially important family memories, rather than 6 cupboards filled with them. You might have your father's tools, for example. Perhaps you don't need the entire workshop. But his old wooden-handled hammer that you remember him using when you were a child, that may deserve a place in your new home. This isn't about becoming ruthless, and it certainly isn't about trying to fit your entire life into some artificially small number of boxes. It is about becoming more deliberate. Which objects still add something to my life? And which objects have finished their job? Now, one of the biggest fears I hear from people downsizing for retirement is, it feels as though I'm throwing my life away. You're absolutely not. Your family history does not disappear because a dining setting goes to an op shop. Your children's childhood does not disappear because you don't keep every school book. And the years you spent in your family home are not stored inside the things filling its cupboards. They are not your life. The belongings are reminders of your life. The aim is to take enough with you that your new home still feels familiar and unmistakably yours, without taking so much that the belongings you wanted freedom from simply overwhelm the next home as well. So, if you are looking around a family home containing 40 years of belongings and wondering where on earth to start, don't start with everything. Start with one easy space. Give yourself short, regular sorting sessions rather than exhausting weekends. Think about the life and the home you are moving towards, not only what you are leaving behind. And leave the emotionally difficult possessions until you've had some practice. Because downsizing does not need to begin with a skip bin sitting in the driveway. It can begin quietly, with one cupboard, one decision, and enough time to make the next decision when you are ready.